Hello everyone, welcome out on another historical walk and explore. We're in the Forest of Dean in Gloucestershire and we're here to look at two pieces of local history, Lea Bailey Mine and Hawthorns Tunnel. Now we're coming to meet a guy called Ben, who I'm hoping is going to help us fill our pockets, because Lea Bailey Mine was a gold mine. So in the beautiful Forest of Dean. It looks like a scene from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, only we're quite away from Nottinghamshire. But already, I mean, they look like colliery winding arms, don't they? There's no way a gold mine would be using wheels that big, surely. But who knows? I'm hoping this Ben chap is going to help me understand. He's already sat on a train here. I confess I didn't really know what to expect from this. But I'm already in dreamland. Here comes Ben, coming out of the gold mine. Mate, this is awesome. Different ages of them. That's incredible. So where Ben's going there, this was a standard gauge line at one point, but we'll come to that later when we go and have a look at Hawthorns Tunnel, and it went straight through there. And that is Lea Bailey Goldmine.
When the mine was built, it was dug in 1906, 1907, they were looking for gold, and just beyond the reach of the lamp there's a section of soft weak rock that's been propped up with some metal arches, and just behind that, the other side, there's a band of quartz conglomerate, and that's where they were looking for the gold. It was ultimately unsuccessful for a commercial venture because there's not enough gold to make it worthwhile.
Got you. So they found some but not enough.
They found some but not enough.
Right.
So in the 1920s it was extended further. So let's say the end of the track after the gold bearing conglomerate, about 100 yards from here the track ends.
Right.
And that was a rockfall which blocked the mine up to about sort of chest height on an adult, and it was all water, a pool of water backing up behind it. And there were about half a dozen of these rockfalls, all blocking up the water flow, and it was flowing over the top and down the side and through the cracks.
Got ya.
Because obviously the mine goes uphill, so there were sort of stepped levels like a rice paddy in fact. So the actual iron mine, the iron's about 600 yards in. We can't get that far because at about 300 yards it's blocked floor to ceiling.
Right, okay. Well, someone's put a wall up, or is that from a rockfall?
No, it's just what's fallen down from the ceiling. So
right. Oh,
you'll notice where we're standing now, which is the furthest in we can go, we're under a metal roof that's just holding up the bank.
Okay.
Immediately in front, you can see this hard rock that's all splintered by roots. And then coming to the right, there's a band of basically mudstone with no real structural strength to it. It just flakes off.
Oh goodness.
So imagine there's a mass at the end of where the rails are in the mine. There's a massive thick section of that that's all come down, and the ceiling goes up and up and up into a cavern, and it's all at about a 45-degree angle because of the angle of the layers of rock. And that's when they were building this heritage railway in about the mid-1990s, that's where they stopped because they couldn't go any further.
So when did this gold mine close?
It only ran for a couple of years.
Oh, okay.
In the early
Well, of course, yeah, it's
1900s
unsuccessful.
Gold mines, from 1906 to 1908. 1921 to 1924 was an iron mine, and then it was abandoned.
Right.
But about 1945, or thereabouts, a family from London came on holiday to the Forest of Dean, and the little boy called Ray loved exploring, so he came and explored this mine as a sort of a teenage schoolboy, and the memory never left him.
Right.
And later he persuaded his family to move to the Forest of Dean.
How amazing is that? What a nice guy Ben is for giving us a bit of a talk there. Would always be nice to go inside a mine, do you know what I mean? But if the fact that the roof is not stable and it's going to come caving down on you, I'm happy to sit that one out.
These are local bricks. They came in as demolition waste, probably acquired by Ray Wright. He had a reputation for liking to get stuff cheap or preferably free.
Yeah.
We got a lot of like when the mines closed in the 80s and 90s, thank you Mrs Thatcher, he got a lot of stuff free or cheap as scrap from old coal mines. And because he was a qualified mine deputy, him and another miner went down there to recover stuff from underground. Other scrap dealers couldn't do it because they weren't qualified to work in a mine. But there was a place called Doubleview School in Cinderford at the top of a hill. When that was demolished, Ray ended up with some of the bricks, and there's a big stockpile of them over there.
Got you.
And they come from a lot of the local brickworks. This one here is Wilderness Mitcheldean.
Oh yeah, so Mitcheldean's just a couple of miles away.
Just over the hill.
Yeah.
We've got Weems of Mitcheldean bricks. There's Broadmoor and PRC for Princess Royal Colliery. You see it's slightly smaller than a standard.
Oh yeah.
And this is what's known in the bricklaying trade as a shiner. If you have a brick with the face showing.
That's a shiner. I like it though.
Every brick's telling you a different story here without it. No one just bothers to think about that, do
I've got a
they?
couple in my garden. I've got a couple of local ones.
We always pick a brick up when we're out on a walk, don't we? And we're really desperate to know where it's from, and you can bet your life you pick it up and it's faded or it's so badly scorched you can't tell what it is.
The pride of my collection is one that says Charleston on it, which is the name of a colliery. And we've actually got the old winding wheel from Charleston Colliery down.
Is that what that was? I saw that on the walk up, yeah.
Yeah, that's not local, that's something that the Wrights got hold of. And the plan is, in Charleston itself, the town where the pit used to be, they built a brick plinth, and they were made in two halves. They've got the semicircle, half of the winding wheel mounted on a brick plinth as a memorial. And what we'd like to do is have one either side of the gate.
Yeah, that would be very cool.
It'll give you an indicator straight away what this kind of...
Yeah, that one was the spare. It was never used, but they just had it ready to go in case of a problem.
Got you. So this equipment, like these, obviously this narrow gauge stuff, was this sort of begged, stolen and borrowed by Mr. Wright as well, was it?
Everything was acquired. We don't really know how and why. He didn't keep written records. But everything was going cheap because it was out, no longer needed. And so a lot of this stuff was just sort of it would have ended up in scrap or in a museum doing nothing. This rocker shovel.
Mate, this has got...
Yeah.
Wow.
This rocker shovel used to sit in a passageway in Clearwell. It has actually been restored to working order.
That is awesome. Are these completely different ages? Because they look very different.
Yeah, well, this probably would have been pushed by hand in a mine, or even on the surface, just for doing odds and sods. These things with the big couplings on, they're from National Coal Board. They've all got standardised couplings.
Right. Okay.
Coal Board modified stuff. They were worse than the Southern Railway for modifying stuff.
Have you got some stuff that gauges slightly out, but you can just about get by running them?
They're all about 2 foot gauge-ish. This rocker shovel, the way that was designed to run, was off the end of the track. And what you would do in a mine, you'd go in with your explosives, you'd blast your rock, and it'd all be on the floor. And then where your track had ended, you get 2 bits of rail turned on their sides. So the head was outermost,
right,
and the flange would run on the inside of the rail, which is called the web. And you'd build this special track panel, so the head of the 2 rails would sit inside the web of the existing track, and you could extend it like telescopically.
right.
They've got one on display at Clearwell. We've done it in that gully up there. It's all buried by leaves at the moment. They were just laid loosely, but you run it on the side of the rails, and the flange actually runs on that until you've got enough of the crap out the way, chucked in the wagon, and then you can lay a permanent panel and move along.
Got you.
This was designed to be driven from the side. The operator would stand here, drive it into a pile of rock, and then this whole rocker mechanism would go up in the air and then stop. And when it stopped, it would chuck it into the wagon, drop down, do it again.
Wow.
It's also got a rotation
Well, racket, I'm
mechanism.
thinking head injury as well. If a loose rock comes flying off.
That's why that safety rail's there. As long as you keep the right side of it. It needs a bit of lubrication because it's seized up, but it's got a rotation mechanism on it where you could turn it to the side. It'll come out to about here.
Do that again,
And then it's got a self-centering mechanism, so when you pull the lever, it comes back into the middle and chucks it in the wagon.
Wow.
Chucking it on the floor.
What a bit of kit. How old is that?
It's probably got a date on it somewhere.
So it's built in Kent. That's what I managed to decipher from that sign.
These are originally built in America, the original ones, IMCO. Something like the East Indiana Mining Company or something like that. And these had a place in Gateshead, County Durham. And then it was rebuilt in Kent.
It's a hell of a journey.
The first one of these was designed and built in about 1938 in America.
Oh, okay, right. So sort of Second World War time, basically. Then, right? Amazing.
But these have all been modified. These old wagons. This one, we had some seats put in it. Just
a bit more comfy.
This was a tub wagon that's been modified as what they call a man rider. So any mine, if you imagine going down a mine shaft and spend a day digging coal, next day you go down, you've got to go past where the coal was yesterday and dig the next bit of coal. Now imagine 100 years later, you've got to walk 5 miles to the coal face. You spend most of your day walking instead of working. So once you've got to pit bottom, you get on a train, a man rider, they called it a paddy train, and the miners would have a ride to the working face.
They used to take up to an hour, didn't they, to get to the faces eventually, didn't they? My friend who worked down a pit said it took him nearly an hour, and I thought, what did he do for that long? He says, nothing, he couldn't speak very well because it was so loud as well.
Wow.
Did it, that was your job. But yeah, they had one in Nottinghamshire, they built one in the 80s called the electric motorway. It went 25 miles an hour.
Which pit that was? We all know that one.
I know where it was.
Might have been, I'm sure my mate were in Annesley.
And it might have been Annesley or one of them round there.
I keep seeing this whistling pig on some of the, stuff I've read about this. Is this self-propelled then? Or
It's
is it
compressed air. So this would have been, this is another IMCO product, powered by the same air motors as the air rocker shovel. And it's basically a 5-cylinder rotary engine. Instead of working on combustion, it works on compressed air. Underground, all your tools run off compressed air. So you've got compressor on the surface, piped air underground, all your drills and your tools. So you connect your air supply up to this. Now that rocker shovel would only move up and down a short distance and it'd be connected to the pipe permanently. This would be connected, filled up, disconnected, and it'd run for a little bit and then you blow it up again, just for moving wagons about underground. That little spike there's got the base for a little driver's seat, and it's very simple. You've got 2 gears, low and high, and 2 directions, forward and back. And if you want to slow down, it just springs back to the middle. If you want to stop in a hurry, you put it the other way to reverse the drive on the motor, and that's just a parking brake to stop it rolling off.
Got ya. Right, so me and Phil are being dead nosy, and we're trying to work out how on earth that is connecting anything to anything. I think we're about to find out. And there's a clue. I've never seen one of them before. So here we go, Ben's going to go and show us how that works then. Mate, this is going to take some precision. They had an answer to everything, didn't they? I'm loving that helmet, by the way. That's awesome. Look at that. I guess that's so you can turn it around then have it facing the other way.
Mitchdean Road and Forest of Dean Junction Railway.
This bit through here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way goes to a station called Mitcheldean Road, disused. It's actually in the village of Lea, near Mitcheldean. And Mitcheldean was actually closer and more conveniently sited to Longhope on the next station on the line, but the railway company practice in those days was to build a station near a town in a village, and instead of naming it after the village, they'd name it after the nearby town, and they call it Town Road. So you've got like London Road near Brighton, Roughton Road in Norfolk, Bodmin Road, now called Bodmin Parkway in Cornwall, or Mitcheldean Road.
Right, okay.
And then that way it went to just the outskirts of Cinderford to a place called Wimsey Junction. It's now an industrial estate. There are a lot of railways all around there, and it linked a couple of collieries, came up through Drybrook to the quarry. There's a couple of little industrial tramways and coal mines feeding into it. And at Drybrook you got the Hawthorne Tunnel, also known as Euroclydon Tunnel after the big house on top. And there was a shorter tunnel as well, that's been sort of covered up, the cuttings filled in. But the Euroclydon Tunnel, 638.
That again.
Euroclydon. If you imagine I'm going to put my rock lid on. It's named after Euroclydon.
Isn't it, above, or
there's a house above called Euroclydon House, which is named after a legendary wind in the Bible.
Right.
That's all I know. But the tunnel was built from both ends and met in the middle, mostly through solid rock, and inside the tunnel it's still bare rock now. And then other sections of soft, crumbly rock were propped up with stone arches built from the rock they blasted out. And the company that built it, they hired the cheapest surveyor they could get, which was a newly qualified surveyor. And so when they met at the middle from both ends, they weren't quite aligned perfectly, so they sort of widened the tunnel to meet up, built a nice piece of stonework with a refuge portal, and behind that, instead of a brick wall, that's where you'd stand if you're working on the track and a train came past, this one's open and you can go into a small cave. It's a man-made cavern just where the two halves of the tunnel met up. It was taken over by the Great Western Railway, completed but never opened, because the whole purpose of this line was to link Cinderford with the Gloucester to Ross railway line and take coal and iron north out of the forest, instead of having to go south to the Gloucester and Newport Railway, into Gloucester, back up to Hereford and beyond. It's a 3.5 mile shortcut. The trouble is, by the time they finished building it, the line from Ceres Junction to Lidbrook Junction had been opened and everything went that way.
What a nice guy Ben was.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do now, we're going to walk away from the gold mine. Now what Ben was talking about towards the end of our conversation, where he was talking about this being a standard gauge line here, we're going to follow it towards Hawthorne's tunnel. Now this line was supposed to be opened between Mitcheldean, which is just a couple of miles in the opposite direction, and a place called Cinderford. Now they got permission to do it in 1871, but they were basically having so many legal wranglings and arguments over who was doing what and who owned what land and whatever. And all this faffing took like 20 odd years. And in that time, another 2 railway companies had opened lines that basically did the same job to connect those places. So by the time they managed to open it, it was kind of already defunct. So on the other side of Hawthorne's tunnel, that was active for quarries and stuff, but this basically never saw action. And in fact, the tunnel that we're walking towards now was actually used by the Admiralty, so I imagine that's the Royal Navy, isn't it? To basically store torpedoes and depth charges and mines and all sorts. So it had a purpose for that. And then the gold mine pulled a line out of there, and that went in the opposite direction using the track bed. So it was still kind of used, but this bit we're on now basically was never used. And this bit, as Phil was just saying, although it's laid, it was never used. It's kind of just, it's been stored, but essentially just, you know, in a line, yeah, as opposed to piled on top.
See, look, it's been dragged out of where it was. It was in concrete, look. So it's not a raw track. It's got all the
rain,
jigger picked it out.
Yeah. So we're going to walk now. It's about half a mile towards the tunnel. Do you remember earlier when Ben was talking about that grabber and he was saying they put the tracks on their side. So that's, I'm guessing, what they've done here then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'd run it. I mean, could do with clearing that tree really. Yeah, that's come down, that has. Yeah, first obstacle, here we go. But I can see a bridge through there. I tell you, I find it amazing. As I was saying earlier, obviously, the fact that this line was basically never worked, is that you have all these railway companies, and there's tons of them. So like when we're in the Midlands, there's tons of different railway companies there. So this railway company, the Mitcheldean and Forest of Dean Junction Railway, they go through all the faff of trying to build stuff, all the expense and all the permissions from government and all that stuff, and they never actually end up doing it. And then in the end, the Great Western Railway comes along and just basically takes it over.
See you later, like.
Yeah, it's like the schoolyard bully a little bit. I'll have your lunch money. Look at that. That's an incredible bridge. And like Phil's just said in here, like, so much expense for this, and they never used it. Never used it. They laid the track here, but I think it was, you know, I don't think it was even sparingly used. I just literally don't think it was ever used. And it's just such an amazing structure. It's a big wide bridge as well, isn't it? At an angle. Oh, mate. This is a relatively decent cutting given how remote we are. You think some of the cuttings we go down in, well, it's fly tipping. I suppose it doesn't matter where you are, you're going to get that. But there you go. The size of that wall as well. And you said you weren't Hawkeye, Phil. So we've just stepped off the track bed just because it's got a little bit muddy, so we're walking alongside of it. There's a little gully there going underneath. So there's a track bed there. This is a nicer path. So we'll get back on it in a sec, but at the minute it's a bit squelch. Here we go, here's some... That looks like one half of a buffer, doesn't it? I know it's obviously a fence, but it looks like one half of a buffer. But some rail infrastructure, and that's the only real clue here, isn't it? Now we've come away from the gold mine. I mean, that's it, isn't it? There's not really any clue that we're on a railway at this point, but I think that's about to change. Okay, so we're coming up to the tunnel now, I think. Although, like Phil's just made the point, I'm pretty sure we're right in front of it, but by now you're normally getting like a kind of, sometimes a gust, to be fair, of cold air coming at you. But I'm not feeling that yet. Maybe not quite as close as I thought, actually. Okay, we are right next to it, I can see it. So here's a whole load of old fencing, which kind of comes out of nowhere. And through there, bosh, there she is, Hawthorns tunnel. I ain't gonna need them, but I am gonna need that. Here we go. Phil's got a head torch. There's a lot of running water. But actually the brickwork's coming in a bit handy. I'm wondering if it was because it was bricked up at some point at the front, maybe. I mean, because that's a lot of brickwork, isn't it? Now, as you can see, there's the tunnel mouth. You can get in that, and then there's actually another set of doors. Reason being, as I said earlier, the Navy, the Admiralty, took over this tunnel, and they used it to store torpedoes and depth charges and mines and all sorts during the Second World War. And so this was gated off, and you'd actually have security here, making sure people weren't getting in to the explosives. Wow. And then later on, let me have a look at the front. The Admiralty again, the Navy, used it to store their narrow gauge railway infrastructure as well, because I think they were using the line to bring the explosives in. And again, we've got that whole sand vibe that we had before at Ballingham. So here we go. I mean, that's a hell of an old door as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks very old.
Oh mate, there's that hit of cold air. Ishka pishka. That is some cold air. Here we go. So there's a little refuse. There's a winch. What's got me there? Some wire. Gollum. Yeah, there's a winch. So I'm wondering, that would have been from the Admiralty as well?
Looks old.
Yeah, it looks old. Here we are getting dripped on. Wow, so stone arches and then it suddenly kind of becomes bare rock. I'm hoping it's not the rock that was in that gold mine that you're saying just collapses. So what we're looking for, how long is this? Is it 600 yards or something? So what we're looking for is a middle section where there's a lot of stonework basically, and then a cave hidden behind it.
This is laid a concrete floor.
It really is, yeah. But this is what they ran the narrow gauge lines on, I was reading, on this concrete floor. Look at those old radiators.
Like old school ones we used to sit for.
Yeah, just chucked there. But they would cost a fortune now to buy one of them.
Well, it's scrappable there, but might get a few bob.
Right, let's bring the car round.
This is quite a typical Forest of Dean tunnel, to be honest with you.
Is it?
In Welsh, yeah, with hewn rock, bare rock, yeah.
Yeah, it is bare rock, look. And then you've got quite a large section now which is reinforced with the... See how you can see, it looks there, look like a big chunk's come down at some point. On your head, son. Here we go. So I can hear running water. What's that?
Yeah, it's bending, look.
Oh, it's a big old bend. Yeah, that would explain maybe why we can't see the light at the other end. Because hopefully it's open. What have we got here? Some old sleepers maybe, some old narrow gauge sleepers. It comes back to concrete again. Another refuse. It's interesting that you'd keep, you know, bombs and torpedoes and stuff in somewhere that's as volatile as this, in the sense that there's loads of running water piling down, the rocks could be piling down.
But isn't this the reason why we've got a hard-based floor? We're storing hardware here. Is this what this is for?
I'm not entirely sure,
So
mate.
there's torpedoes.
Wow, look at that rock.
Torpedo storage expert. Isn't that running water?
Yeah.
Look at this here. Right there.
Oh, wow. So this is, yeah. Well, they seem to be every few yards, every, 100 yards or whatever. There's one of these. But that is some serious running water we're approaching now. We're going to get soaked. I have had a shower, yeah. But I can have two in the same day, I suppose. If I'm not paying the water bill. Look at that water coming down there. That is like a bath running. I think it's going to hit us at some point. I think we'll find out where it is. Oh, there's loads of sand again, look. I really want... There it is. Look at that. That's just running clean out. Look at it. Now, we seem to be in quite a big section where there's a turn, so maybe... I'm going to get underneath that water. Oh, yeah, that's cold. Here we go. See, this is all stone, and look at this. This isn't your normal refuse. You could hide a bottle of Chekhov Russian vodka, but you could hide a five-a-side football team there.
So yeah.
Look at that. So this is where they got it wrong, basically. When they bored the tunnel, it did not meet in the middle identically, and so it's slightly askew, and so they've built this part to kind of, marry it together, and that's why there's that cave in there. Wow. Oh, there's that horrible orange gunk. Right, I can see things in the distance. Yeah, leaning up. What is that? Are they railway sleepers? They look like it. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen at home, it is freezing. Proper freezing. Yeah, yeah. Well, these ones are relatively new, and these ones are, you know, they've had it. So there's people coming in here, and here we go. Here's some narrow gauge railway infrastructure. Now, some of this will be related to, obviously, the gold mine and the reconstruction there, and some of this is related to the Royal Navy. Look at that. Just hiding away in a tunnel. So, fucking... See, this looks... I mean, the rails have had it, but the wood doesn't look particularly old. It does, yeah. And it's on brick as well, so they're obviously trying to... Although that's a bit soft, what I just stood on there. They're trying to get it to sort of marry up in terms of the height. Okay, what we got here? That would have been like for cable, obviously. I'm not seeing the other end, Phil.
Yeah, well, no, there's a brick wall again.
Is there?
Yeah, another one. The door's closed too. We should still see some cracks coming through.
Here we go. Yeah, we're all brick now. Look at that white. Crazy minerals. Upside down, that one. Oh, mate, you're going to need some serious strength to...
Well, I have to have a high arm on the alloy to get that one.
Yeah.
And once I don't get it in, I said, got something coming along the track and everything.
So then we're back to barefaced rock again.
I can't work out why this is here. What's the point?
No idea.
Well, did the guy say they were planning on running up and down for the tunnel?
I think that was a plan, yeah. I don't think it ever came to be, because I don't think they could get permission. Oh yeah. Well, also the water running down. If you're a family on a day out, you ain't going to be wanting to sit on the train in this, getting soaked, when you could be out exploring the countryside. There's some more rail. I mean, an S-bend would make sense in the fact that the two ends didn't meet properly. You would have to put in an S-bend. I'm glad this rail's here though, Phil, because if it wasn't, it wouldn't be the most comfortable. I can see some light in the distance. I've got to say that these sleepers are getting wider and wider apart. My gate is getting bigger. I'm actually going to come off. There we go. So that looks more like a collapse. Water dripping on something. There's a lot more infrastructure down here, I think. Ooh, under the water again. Yeah, that's tarpaulin being dripped on. So there we go. I mean, these have had it, haven't they? So is that... They obviously care more about that one then. Goodness me.
Hey, 2 lines.
2 lines, double track. Coming into one.
So everyone says the track never went through Hawthorne's tunnel. Actually, technically, that.
Yeah, technically they're fibbing. At least it's being used for something, you know, it's just storage rather than just left to rot abandoned, you know. So here we go. Ooh, nearly stacked it. So much water. So let's walk on the track and head towards the light. A fan there, look. Okay, let's have a go. What's it like the other side? Oh, squelch. Squelchalicious. I can hear cars. I think we might be near some kind of, life. So we're not far now out of Drybrook, are we really? Which is where the line kind of, it lived a pretty active life at that point with the quarries and sorts. Oh yes, I like tunnels, but I'm happy to be in the light. And here's this. I'm still using my torch. I don't need that. There's stuff going on here. Look, more rail infrastructure. Look, so there's more tracks. Here's a little loco. Ken just left abandoned. Oh mate, that would have been a decent one as well. I'm not even sure Johnny Five could fix that. Wow. Here we go. Phil's taking a selfie to add to his long list of tunnels. That guy's been in more tunnels all over this country than anyone I know. So that's us. Lea Bailey Goldmine, followed by Hawthorns tunnel. We've got all the way through. Loads of stuff to see. Amazing. A nice one, Ben. Thank you so much, mate, for showing us around. Appreciate that. Got to stomp back through it now.
Yeah, no problem.
As always, cheers for watching. See you next time.